Hello, my name is Kathryn Poston, and today I will be addressing mental illnesses along with its effects. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, suicide is the second leading cause of death for youth aged 12 to 18 years old. Just let that sink in. Mental illness is a very real problem in today's society, especially amongst our youth who are quite vulnerable to the wrath of this disease. It also tends to be a taboo subject that people would rather keep hush-hush than to speak out on. Despite how common this disease really is, people choose to bury the problem, but it is necessary that we address it and do our best to help those affected by it. One Tree Hill is a drama series that also addresses many controversial topics with the utmost respect. The writers do not shy from the serious subjects nor exaggerate any aspects of the situations at hand. If you have ever heard of One Tree Hill, you probably picture the brother rivalry of Nathan and Lucas, or the Naylee love story between Haley and Nathan. Maybe even the love triangle between Brooke, Peyton, and Lucas. The episode I'm analyzing today addresses a school shooting that is executed by a depressed teenager named Jimmy Edwards. At first glance, the episode is centered around a school shooting, but the underlying focus is on the effect of depression and teen suicides. The show itself was very heartfelt, and just by watching, you would feel a strong personal connection with the characters. As the show goes on, your relationship with each of the characters develops, and you are able to relate and sympathize with their situations and struggles. It is difficult to produce episodes with this level of seriousness and to accurately portray these kinds of tragedies. The significance of these types of episodes is to reach a wider audience and to appeal to their emotions. By creating such strong relationships between the viewers and the characters, it gives the viewers a sense of reality in the fact that if they have never experienced the effects of depression and the irrational decisions that accompany the disease, they will get a better understanding by viewing it on television. One Tree Hill not only targets the high school audience, but older and younger generations as well, by being so versatile. Jimmy Edwards played a small role in the beginning of the series as a friend of two main characters, Mouth McFadden and Lucas Scott. Jimmy was not considered one of the popular guys. He was on the chunkier side, he was a victim of bullying, he had a quirky personality, and kept to his own small group of friends. Jimmy also suffered from family problems as his father walked out on him and his mother a few months before the shooting occurred. Lucas and Mouth were the only two people that were ever there for Jimmy. But as the show progressed and the characters developed, the trio drifted apart. Jimmy then became a loner and was very depressed. He started showing up less and less in the show until eventually he completely disappeared. That is, up until Season 3, Episode 16. With tired eyes, tired minds, tired souls, we slept. The students made a time capsule for their school, Tree Hill High, where everyone told their deepest secrets that would be unveiled later in life. The time capsule was not supposed to be released for 50 years, so Jimmy saw this as a safe way to express his feelings and anger that he had been suppressing for such a long period of time. The message that Jimmy recorded was filled with so much hatred. He pointed out people's flaws and called them out on their most embarrassing moments. After a series of unfortunate events, the time capsule was released and broadcast to the whole school as well as all over social media. This began pushing Jimmy over the edge. Does this darkness have a name, this cruelty, this hatred? How did it find us? Did it steal its way into our lives, or did we seek it out and embrace it? What happened to us, that we now send our children into the world like we send young men into war, hoping for their safe return, but knowing that some will be lost along the way? When did we lose our way? Consumed by the shadows, swallowed whole by the darkness. Does this darkness have a name? Is it your name? This was the opening voiceover, and it fits perfectly with the tone of the episode at hand. The hysteria from the time capsule died down after a couple of weeks. Everyone still went to school, carrying on with their daily lives. No one paid much attention to what had happened, besides a group of boys who took serious offense to Jimmy's words in the time capsule. The group of boys began harassing Jimmy. The majority of the abuse was verbal, but one of them took it to the next level and punched Jimmy in the face, giving him a black eye. This episode had a completely different atmosphere than the other episodes in the series. It was extremely serious, suspenseful, and heart-wrenching. As I mentioned before, the episode starts off with a voiceover on a black screen that only displays the suicide awareness hotline number. Following this, we hear gloomy music and the audio recording of Jimmy's time capsule playing in the background. Jimmy stands outside of the school looking upon his peers as he lights a cigarette and says, "Here we go," while contemplating what he's going to do. As Jimmy walks into the school, he witnesses the same bully who had just punched him in the face and a few other guys dumping everything out of his locker. He stood there watching this happen, and after the boys were done, they walked past him and purposely rammed into him. This was the final straw. Jimmy then pulls out a gun from his hoodie, points it towards the group of boys as he hesitates for a moment. Two more of the main characters, Peyton and Brooke, walked into the school together that day, not expecting the terror they were about to endure. As the two walked in, side by side, they were entering the doors of the school, having playful conversation while laughing with each other. They looked up to open the doors and instead saw the barrel of a gun pointed directly at them. Jimmy pulled the trigger, but the boys ducked out of the way. As soon as the shot was fired, it went through a glass door, and as the glass shattered and the shot rang through the ears of everyone in the school, chaos ensued. After Jimmy had fired the gun, you could see the shock on his face and the terror of realizing what he had just done. Everyone began running frantically, some out of the school, shoveling onto buses, while others piled into rooms within the school. The principal made an all-call announcement that the school was on lockdown and encouraged everyone to get to safety. This happened at the very beginning of the day, so buses were still arriving, and all they saw were crowds of kids fleeing the school. The bus drivers and teachers piled the students onto the buses and sent them to an off-campus location. The principal called the cops, and soon enough, the school was surrounded. 7 students made their way to the tutor center inside the school, which was just a regular classroom. 4 of these students were main characters, 2 others were just random students, and the other was Jimmy Edwards. All the students were frightened, and one of the random characters stated that whoever had done this was sick and that they were a freak. Jimmy then came forward and asked what made the shooter a freak. As the controversy intensified, Jimmy revealed his weapon, and all those in the tutor center crowded together in fear. Jimmy then locked the door and held the students as hostages. The students pleaded with him to let them go and that this would all go away. But Jimmy wanted them to feel the fear and pain that he felt every day. More arguments took place over the course of them being held captive, but eventually Jimmy heard a door close in the school, and he had believed that there was someone still out there. He left the other 6 students in the room and went out into the school. Jimmy had found another main character, Keith Scott, had gotten his way into the school. The importance of this fact is that Keith also happened to be Lucas Scott's uncle, father figure, and was engaged to Lucas's pregnant mother. As Keith stood before him, pleading with Jimmy to turn himself in and end all of this, Jimmy began opening up with him about all that he has been through. Keith kept attempting to talk him down, but he was too late. Jimmy was proclaiming his pain, and as he was beating his chest, making it clear how hurt he was. "It hurts, Keith. This hurts," Jimmy said as he pointed to his chest. The gun was pointed at Keith the entire heart-wrenching conversation. As I watched, I was completely silent. As he cried and talked to Keith, I could feel his pain and my stomach was turning. Keith pleaded with Jimmy, but in the end, Jimmy lost his battle with depression by taking his own life. The following is a quote from Jimmy at one point in the episode. "One day I spent a whole day in this school without a single person looking at me or talking to me. And I realized that that was the best day I'd had in a long time. The day that nobody noticed me at all. The day I stopped being there. That was the best day. Well, that was kind of depressing, so I went home and took an antidepressant. And then I took another one. And then, for fun, I took 12 more. My mom and doctors called it an accident, and then 2 weeks later, when I got back to school, nobody noticed that I was gone." Jimmy showed obvious signs of depression, but his cries for help were ignored. In no way, shape, or form was the shooting ever the answer to his problems, but mental illnesses are a very real problem and can completely cloud someone's judgment. The majority of people have not personally experienced a school shooting, but One Tree Hill does a very good job at creating a personal relationship between the characters and the audience, so when they are facing this problem, you feel it as well. On the other hand, depression amongst our youth is very common. More than 1 out of every 5 students admitted to being bullied, but 64% of children who were bullied did not report it. There are a variety of ways to cope with depression and bullying, but instead Jimmy chose to keep burying his feelings deeper and deeper until he was eventually pushed over the edge. In conclusion, instead of downplaying and straight up ignoring mental illnesses, we need to raise awareness of warning signs and also healthy alternatives to cope with these feelings. During the time of adolescence, our youth is in their most vulnerable state, but also the most important time as they are maturing and their brains are in one of the most important stages of development. We need to make bullying prevention more prevalent so that we can address the problem before it ever gets to this point of extremity. Please keep in mind to look out for others and to be kind. You never know the battles that they are facing. I hope this discussion had some sort of impact on you, and thank you for your time.